Cool. Hey, Britt. So I've known Britt, so I feel like since we basically started coaching, because I've been friends with Candace and working with Candace for like a million years. Um, Britt is one of Candace's diamond coaches, and now 1-star qualifying. So cool. And the last couple months, I'm obviously in Candace's team page, and I've been seeing Britt at the way top. And I'm also in Keith Callahan's team page, and I've been seeing her at the top. I'm like, what is this bitch doing now? So I want to hear what she's been doing. But more important to me is that she's duplicating it to her team. So I've noticed that she also shouts out tons of emeralds recently. So I'm like, okay, so you're not just hitting Success Club, you're also duplicating it and creating business builders and emeralds and people that actually want to work the business. So I want to know everything. So thank you so much for doing this call. I know this is your first call outside of Dream Core and outside of Team Rising Lotus. So guys, just you got to start somewhere. You're going to be amazing. I already know. You always do lives and friggin' Candace's page all the time, crushing it. So you can just start if you want to share your story and then get into your cool, I love this topic. If she can, I can. It's literally what I live by, like by Keith. If he could, I can. Why not? You know? So I'm pumped to hear this. Okay, you can unmute yourself if you want.
To start, I'm going to apologize ahead of time because I live on a main street in town, like on a main intersection, and you can like constantly like hear cars. So sorry if it's distracting. It distracts me all the time, but I'm going to try not to like let it get to me. So I know you guys like want to hear all of my like tips and stuff, and like I do have tips and tricks for you guys at the end. But I really wanted to share my story because I know a lot of people don't know it, and I've never really like told the whole thing from like start to finish because I've never like spoke on a team call. And I realized recently that I'm sure you guys are going to see a lot of yourselves in my story, but I'm sure you guys are going to see a lot of your coaches in my story because there's a lot of phases to your coaching career. And some people go through your phases of your coaching career in like a day, and it took me like years. So I hope you guys can like see your personally sponsored coaches in my story and like realize not to give up on them. Because I think Haley actually told Candace the other day, like, oh, you're so lucky to have found Brittany. And she was like, are you fucking serious? Like, she was the worst coach ever. What are you talking about? Because I literally was like horrific in the beginning. So I'm going to back up to like before I became a coach so you guys kind of see like why. So I got married at 19 for like no good reason at all other than like I had no self-esteem or confidence. And this dude wanted to marry me. So I was like, sure, whatever. I'm 19. Like, in my head, like to me, a title meant like I made it. Like if I was married, that meant like I was successful. And so at 19, this boy wanted to marry me. He was military, you know, pretty typical. And I got married, and my marriage was like awful from the beginning, like absolutely terrible. We fought about money all the time. That was like our biggest thing. And our solution was for me to join the military. Extremely overweight, out of shape. I was like almost pushing 200 pounds. Couldn't even do a push-up. And I was like, I'm going to enlist in the Air Force, right? Like being military to military, married, you make like ass tons of money. And that was like his like life dream was like to make all of this money. And so that was our plan. So I joined the military. And this is like really embarrassing because one of the girls from my flight is actually a coach sitting on this call, and she's going to like fucking laugh this whole time. So I joined basic training, and just, it was such an eye-opener for me because the girls in my flight like kept giving me interventions like, Romines, you're so negative. Like you just cry about everything. You complain about everything. Like you can never find a positive in anything. And I kept like trying to be positive, and it wasn't working. I literally cried for like 6 months straight. It was horrific. And I ended up getting kicked out of the military because I couldn't pass my PT test. I failed 12 tests in a row before they gave me the option to stay in and just pretty much work out every day and try to pass, or to get out. And I chose to get out because I thought that was like, I was over it. My job was to be a cop, and do I look like a cop? No. I wasn't passionate about it. It was not what I wanted to do. And so when they gave me the option to get out, I was like, send me home. I don't care. I want out. And going home, I didn't think it'd be that bad. But that was my husband's dream, was like military to military. And I just ruined that. And my marriage went from like, okay, to like, not the best, pretty quickly. And this is really like where my coaching career started, because as soon as I got out of the military, he got sent to Mississippi, and me not having a job or literally anything, like at my rock bottom, 200 pounds, no job, no plan, like quit my job and join the military. I told him I was going with him, and we were going to live in a hotel room for 4 months while he did training. And I said I was going to get my life together and like get in shape. And we started going to the gym because there's a free gym on base, and we got a membership to GNC, and we were buying fat burners and protein powders and pre-workouts and like all this stuff. And of course it didn't work. But in that wives page at Keesler Air Force Base, there were 2 coaches constantly posting about Shakeology. Pretty terrible coaches, I'll be honest, just really salesy, like Beachbody links and like, you know, all the stuff we tell you guys like not to do. One of them actually gave me samples of Shakeology and pretty much was like, oh, it's like really cheap for military. Like, here's my link, go buy it. And of course I said like hard no, $130 for a protein shake. Like, are you on crack? Like, I'm not doing that, because she didn't give me any information about it or anything. So I said no. And at that time I enrolled in the EMT program, and I figured when we got back to California, I was going to go to the EMT school, and I was going to get a job as a waitress because I'd been a waitress for 5 years, and like life was going to be grand and it was going to be fine. I was going to like have this noble career. And when we got back to California, I joined the EMT program, and this is really funny. Like, little backstory, growing up, me and my mom used to always go to like, I don't know if they're called rummage sales, like where people just sell their whole storage unit full of crap. And this random girl was selling her entire life in a yard sale group. And I was like, who is this girl? Is this the same like yard or like storage unit like place that like everyone sells stuff, because I hadn't gone for years. And it was Candace. And the first thing I saw on her page was like, this girl has an 8-pack. Like, I want that. And then I'm like, you know, continuing to scroll, and I'm like, this girl like is her own boss and like working from home. Like, I want that too, you know? And I filled out her form. I think it was like a woohoo form or something at that point. And I did all the things that I'm sure everyone does to you. I can't afford it. It's too expensive. I'm not paying for that. My husband said, no, I'm going to go to the gym. You know, I told her that for months. And my ex-husband was completely against it. He said, absolutely not. You're not spending money on that. We have a free gym on base. You know, we'll meal prep. Obviously, I've had a gym membership since I was 16. So obviously that did not work. And one night, January 4th, in the middle of the night while my husband was sleeping, I messaged Candace on Facebook, and I signed up as a coach behind his back. Didn't tell him until my challenge pack came in the mail. And he was like, what is this giant green box on our porch? And like was seriously upset about it. But I was like bound and determined. And we did hammer and chisel when it launched. And so all of us doing a giant group together was like I think that's honestly why I stuck with it, because I saw everyone in our wellness page talking about, oh, chisel balance, like really, you know, effed me up today. Like, oh, I can't walk because of chisel agility. I did not want to like fall off my program. Like, I wanted to be able to relate to them every day. I had literally never stuck to anything in my life, and I completed that entire, like, 60-day program. There was days where I had to do like triple because I didn't want to fall off, and I finished it and I got awesome results. I don't think I realized how overweight I was until I took those before pictures. And by the end of it, I had completely like lost the wings on my back. Like, I was like so excited to like jump right into the next program. And that's really like phase 1 of my coaching career. Was like, I was doing the program, but I was inconsistent on social media. And when I did post on social media, it was like 21-day fix done with like a check mark, you know, shaker bottle. And you know, Candace tried to help me, and I didn't listen, and I did the trainings and I didn't apply them. It like went right in one ear, right out the other. I was like the typical terrible coach that's just like salesy and disgusting and like doesn't listen, and like you're, you know, banging your head against a wall. I can even remember like at one point I made a bag of Shakeology, my picture on Facebook, and I literally thought Candace was gonna like strangle me because I was like doing everything she told me not to do, and I like just wasn't listening. And I'm sure you guys have coaches like that just like don't listen to anything you say. So like, you have coaches like that. Like, that's the point in telling my story. Like, don't give up on them, because you never know, like, when they're just gonna like, you know, decide to like start doing stuff. And so I stayed like that for like a year. I didn't help a single person. The only challenge pack I sold was my husband's. I signed him up as a discount coach, again behind his back. He didn't know he was a coach for like probably 2 years. Oh well. But I didn't help anyone because I refused to do personal development. I stayed negative. I didn't listen at all. And in December of that year, we found out he was going to deploy. And I don't even remember what it was, but I can distinctly remember Colleen doing a team call, and she kept saying your work in December is going to decide your January, February, March. So like, you better do something. And I was like, you know what? Like, Austin's going to deploy. I'm going to have all this extra time to myself to actually work my biz. Like, I'm just going to do it, you know? And I'm sure I told Candace this, and she like rolled her eyes, you know? But I did it. I hit Success Club 10 my first month, and I haven't dropped Success Club since, like 31 months later. So that just goes to show, like, even if you have coaches that like suck for a whole year, like, you never know when they're just going to like decide to hit Success Club and then like just, you know, do it every month. So he deployed, and I started to have like all of this extra time. By the way, at this point I was like working as an EMT. I was getting up at like 1 a.m. to work out so I could go to work at 3 o'clock in the morning, because I had to commute an hour, and I was working 12-hour shifts. Like, completely exhausted. I really thought being an EMT would be like amazing, and like, I didn't realize you make like barely above minimum wage, and you're working like 60 hours a week, and you're like completely exhausted because you're in a car for like 12 plus hours a day. It's literally terrible. It's like, you just feel like a taxi driver pretty much. Yeah, you make like nothing as an EMT. I was barely making like $1,500 after like paying bridge toll and like commuting an hour. Like, it just wasn't worth it. In California, that like, it didn't even pay our rent. And so he deployed, and I decided to like go all in, and like, I hit Success Club, and I was like, if I could do it once, I could do it again, right? So I'm like hitting Success Club, and a month into his deployment, he called me and said, I want you to move to live with my parents in Tennessee, because our housing allowance is $3,000, and we could just pocket it if you go stay with my family. And I said, so I could like coach full time. Like, that was like my mindset. Like, I could just coach all the time. And he was like, yeah, whatever. Like, if you want to get a part-time job while you're there, cool. But like, yeah, whatever. Like, we need to save some money, because we were like paycheck to paycheck, like flat broke. And so I packed up the whole house in like a week. Put everything in storage, drove all the way across the country to Tennessee to live with his parents, who didn't like me. Was not a good decision, but it really kind of like took off my coach career, because for the first time I had literally all day, every day to work on my business. And Success Club like became a non-negotiable for me. I had all day long to talk to people. However, I'll add, I was not inviting, and I was not using Instagram, just because I kept telling Candace, like, Facebook is where it's at. Nobody uses Instagram. I'm not going to use Instagram to grow my business. I'm just going to use Facebook. I hit Success Club 10 every month. I'm just going to use Facebook, right? And so I continued to like stay in that like phase 2 of like, I'm all in. And I'm using the tracker. It was a different tracker at that point, but I was using the tracker, and I was like, you know, hitting Success Club, but I really didn't have a team. I had like maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 coaches, but they had never helped anyone either. So it was really just like, I said I was all in, but I really wasn't. And that was my first summit. I went to Summit, and I think that's really where I learned like, the potential that I could be just like anyone else. And that's really like where it started to like, the wheel started to turn in my head. Like, there's a millionaires club. Like, all these coaches are like making all of this money. Like, you mean I like don't have to like live paycheck to paycheck all the time? Like, this is really like where it started to like take off for me. And, honestly, I think that's the reason why I struggled for so long, was like, I had the mindset of like, I couldn't do it, or like, I would never be like them. And I have a little funny story for you guys. I am really like hard on my girls, and I'm really like blunt, and it gets me into trouble a lot. And I get reported a lot to compliance. And it's really funny, because the first time I talked to Jemima at compliance, he told me like, Brittany, we really need to get like your attitude in check before like, you know, all these coaches, like everyone just starts to really hate you. And she was like, imagine if like Amy Silverman or a top coach like acted like you. And I said straight to Jemima's face, Jemima, why do you give a fuck? I'm never going to be a top coach. Why do you care? And like, when I look at that now, I'm like, that's why I wasn't successful. That's why, because I didn't think I would ever be a top coach. So I did like mediocre activities. You know, I like did the bare minimums because I thought I'd always be bare minimum. And so I started to realize like I could do exactly what everyone else is doing. And when my ex-husband came home from being deployed, oh, I don't want to get emotional. I'm going to get emotional. We had been like not trying, but not preventing pregnancy for a while. And I didn't know it then, but I had PCOS. So it's just like really odd to me. I honestly feel like the universe guided me through all of this crazy stuff in the last 3 years to get me to where I am, and to show me everything that it did. Because he came home from that deployment and we had sex one time and I got pregnant. And that's just like mind blowing to me, because after years of nothing and like having PCOS and like, it's just crazy. And when I told him, he was like livid, like not happy about it at all. Like, getting him to agree to have kids was more like if you don't give me kids, I'm going to leave. So you better give them to me. It was never like he wanted them. And so when I told him, he was like very unhappy, like didn't want to talk about it, refused to talk about baby stuff at all. And the only person that knew was Candace, because he refused to let me tell my family. He said he didn't want to talk about it or deal with it right now. And so we left to drive back across the country. And like that was a couple weeks later. Still nobody knew except for like Candace. I might have shared it in the team page. Oh God, I really don't want to cry. And on our trip back home, I started to like bleed really bad. And being outside of our network, he refused to let me go to the hospital. He was like, "No, I'm not paying that hospital bill. Like, you need to wait till we get back to California. Like, a couple of days is not a big deal. Like, you'll be fine." And so we waited and waited, and we're still driving across country. A couple more days go by, I'm still bleeding, and I'm like, you know what? I need to go to the hospital. Like, I just know something's not right. You know, like, yes, Google says it's common, but like, Google's not a doctor, you know? So going to the hospital, if you guys have ever like tried to get pregnant, or you guys are TTC or anything like that, you know, the, you know, HCG levels should be pretty high at like 6-7 weeks. And my level was 4. And as soon as the doctor told me my level was 4, I was just like, oh my God, you know, like it was heartbreaking for me. And I wish I could say that like he was really supportive and like was there for me, and like he really wasn't. He didn't want to talk about it. We still to this day don't really talk about it. He doesn't like to deal with it. In fact, during our divorce, he told me he was trying to forget both of us ever existed, and that just like broke my heart, you know. That's how he was. And that was really like my wake-up call that like I was never going to have a supportive spouse in any aspect of my life, like not just coaching, but like with anything. Like it was just not good. It was not going to get better. And even through all of this, like I'm sharing all of this hard stuff because I want you guys to see that like even through all of this, I never stopped my program. I never like fell off social media. Like even if it was just like, hey guys, I feel like I'm dying, but I'm still here. Like, thanks for the love. Like I was still in my wellness page. Like that's the first place I posted when I was in the hospital was the wellness page. And like coaching literally has like saved my life. It's the only constant that's been in my life through all of this. It's literally like been all I had. Sorry, I'm like getting so sad. But so that was when I got diagnosed with PCOS, and I kind of knew for years, you know, I've always had like facial hair and like struggled with my weight and like, you know, had depression. And I kept telling the doctors, and they were like, no, you know, birth control can take 2 years to get out of your system. It's just birth control. Like you're fine. You don't have PCOS. And when they finally tested my levels, they were like, oh my God, your levels are like insane. And I was like, oh wow, I could have told you that years ago, you know, but nobody wanted to listen to me. And the doctors didn't really give me any advice or any help or anything, which, you know, I've heard that's pretty typical. And so we continued to try for a couple more months and nothing. And I honestly know that's because the universe knew like that was not my person. You know, I was not meant to have a kid with him, and continued to fight. If anything, things went from like to like so much worse. I literally resented him so much because I feel like it was kind of his fault. You know, who knew if I went to the doctor ahead of time, you know, or the first day, what would have happened, you know? And then he was also like completely unsupportive. Like when we left the hospital, the first thing he said was like, what do you want to do for lunch? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, you know, I'm like literally dying inside, and you want to go get freaking cheeseburgers? Like, so I just realized things were not going to get better. And so I decided when we got back to California, I tried to like coach full time for a couple months, and I realized really quickly like things were just getting worse and worse, and I was not going to be able to support myself. Because at that point I was making like $1,000 with Beachbody, and I was like, that's my rent's $3,000 in California. There's no way. So since I was on a leave of absence at work, I went back to work as an EMT. And it's really funny because my first paycheck that I got, as soon as it hit our bank account, he wiped out our bank account. And I'm so grateful for coaching, because without coaching, I literally would have been homeless. But so I was working full time, literally as many hours as I could, and like coaching full time, still not falling off. And I totally forgot where I was. Hold on, sorry. I'm like getting distracted by the chat because you guys are like so supportive and loving. So we got into a huge fight one day. When I got home from work, who knows what it was about. It could have been about like the color of the sky. Who really knows? We literally fought about everything. And this was really like the straw that broke the camel's back. He looked right at me and said, I don't want kids with you because you'd be a bad mom. And I literally just like, I really don't remember what else happened besides like throwing my ring at him and just walking out the door. I really don't even know what I said. I probably had steam coming out of my ears, you know, because I feel like telling someone that right after a miscarriage is literally the worst thing you can do to someone. And I just was like, I am done. And at the same time, we were doing 80-Day Obsession that had just come out. And I remember sharing in my wellness page, when I found out that Callie, Autumn's sister, was divorced, the first thing I thought was, well, what's wrong with her? Like, why is she divorced? Like, is she like jealous, or like what's wrong with her? Like, what happened? Like, you know, and I realized that that's why I didn't want to get divorced. It wasn't about the money or about making it, because I know the universe always works out in my favor. Everything will work out. It was literally like, I don't want to be seen as like broken or damaged or like divorced. But that was literally like just the straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, I'm done. And so he packed up all of his stuff and went to go stay with a friend, and he said he was going to go visit his family for a week for his birthday. And when he came back, I really thought when he came back, he would like, it was Valentine's Day. So I really thought, oh, he's going to show up with like flowers and like, we're going to talk it out. Because we had talked about divorce for years. And I really thought, you know, it would be just like before. We would talk about divorce, and then everything would just like go back to normal, you know? And instead of flowers, he brought me divorce papers. I was actually on Facebook Live doing my workout when I saw his truck pull up with divorce papers, and I had to like get off Facebook Live. And I honestly feel like I should have been crushed by that and like probably like quit as a coach and like fallen off and like, you know, like dug myself a hole. But I honestly like just picked myself right back up and like just finished my workout and like just continued on like nothing changed. I still hit the Gus Club. Like I still did everything that's like normal. And I honestly think the universe had me hold on to my marriage for so long that I had enough like mental growth from Beachbody to help me, because if Brittany before coaching went through this, I don't know if she would still be here. And like just the fact that I just like got through it was just amazing to me, and I owe that literally to coaching. So I got divorced at 22, which sounds traumatizing. Kind of was, but I took it a lot better than I really thought I did. Still didn't fall off social media. Every single day, like was posting just like normal, because this was my job. Like when I decided to go all in, and when like I made a commitment, like this is my job. I'm not going to fall off, even if it's hard. That's why when like my coaches come to me and they're like, oh, you know, me and my husband are fighting, so I just fell off at social media for a week. I'm like, I literally can't relate. Like literally hashtag can't relate at all. Like I don't know what you're talking about. Like unless you're literally like dying in the hospital, I really don't know why you would fall off social media. Like even in the hospital, I was on social media, so like I really just can't relate at all. But me being Brittany that I am, still struggling with like this title, like always needing a title in my life. I immediately got right on Tinder because, you know, what else would Brittany do? And I met this beautiful man named Neil, who at the time seemed amazing because I had no attention in my marriage for like 4 years. And then I found this man who said all the right things and like gave me all of the attention that I thought I needed. And Brittany doesn't learn. And like 2 months into dating, he's like, hey, like you want to move to the Midwest? And I was like, fuck it, why not? Like nothing's holding me here. So I like quit my job, sold everything, packed up my entire life to move across the whole United States to Illinois. And the day we got there, he had left like a day or two before me so I could finalize my divorce and everything. The day we got there, it was really bad, and I could just tell something was like not right. And he told me the day before I left, he cheated on me. And he said, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you to look stupid on Instagram. And I'm like, cool, so you ruined my life for Instagram. Thank you so much. And I decided to like try and stick it out and stay. And we got an apartment, and I thought everything was going to be okay. And like went to Summit last year where I met Haley. And this was really like where the universe started to show me that like, if she can do it, anyone can do it. Like when I met Haley, I immediately like walked into my hotel room and thought, oh my God, there's a celebrity in here. Like I can't speak to her. And then like throughout the week of like seeing her, I realized like she's just a normal person like me and Candace and like everyone else. Like why was I so scared to like talk to her? Like she's just normal. And it's like these wheels just kept turning in my head. And that summit was like amazing for me. And I went home, and things with him obviously were like horrific, you know, they just weren't getting better. And I honestly contemplated going back to California. You know, why not? I had a job waiting for me there. All my certifications didn't transfer over here, so I had no choice but to coach full time. And I decided, you know what? No, I'm going to stay. Candace, who has obviously from my story been my rock, like through literally like the most horrific things of my life, kept telling me like, I feel like you're in the Midwest for a reason. Like, I feel like you should just stay there for a while and like figure out why. And it's funny because, you know, the universe always working for you. I texted my landlord to get off my lease, and he said, actually, I have a 1-bedroom available in another building. Do you want to look at it? And I was like, Candace literally planted this in my life. I know she did. And so I took the 1-bedroom apartment, and I decided to stay here in Iowa and just coach full time. And I was like, you know what? I have no choice but to like go all freaking in. because I literally have bills to pay. I don't have a choice. I have to do whatever the fuck it takes to make my income. And again, the universe placed Bailey's team call with Kate Morgan right in my lap, because this was right after Summit. This was right when, I realized like I have to go all in. I have bills. I have to, like, for the first time in my life, I live on my own. I've always been married my entire adult life. And I got on that team call with Kate Morgan, and it literally changed my life, you guys. I still have the graphic on my phone where she shared her income progression, and it was like $10,000 in her first 6 months. And I remember thinking, like, I don't know who this crazy bitch is, but whatever the fuck she tells me on this team call, I'm gonna go do it right now. Like, I don't know what she's gonna tell me. She could tell me to, like, go paint an elephant at the zoo, and I'm gonna do it, because $10,000 a month, like, I need it. I need it right now. And obviously, if you guys know Kate Morgan, which you all should, she's all about invites, and I had never invited. And the whole time at Summit, everyone kept telling me, like, you don't invite, you don't use Insta stories, like, what are you doing? And I was like, at this point, I was like, fine, I'll use Instagram. I'll use Insta stories, and I'll invite 100 people a day if that's what she just told me to do. I'm going to do it. And I started inviting 100 people a day. Yeah, Kate Morgan's not Kate Tolson, sorry. I call her Kate Morgan because that's just how I know her as. And I started to realize, like, this girl, if she can do it, why can't I? She's literally a brand new coach, 6 months in, making like 7 times the amount of money that I'm making. Like, why am I not doing what she's telling me? Like 100 invites a day. Like, I'm going to do 100 invites a day. And I did. When I started using my Insta stories, I realized I was getting like over 1,000 views a day on my stories. And I'm like, why am I not talking to these humans? Like, 1,000 people a day are listening to me blabber on and be, an Akko Taco. Like, obviously they're watching me for a reason. And I literally just did exactly what Kate Morgan said. Like, hey, I saw you checking out my boot camp. You want to join me? Like, literally so simple, you guys. And I was getting all of these people that were like, actually, yeah, I'd love some info, or I've been so scared to talk to you, or like people thought I was a celebrity. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you're in my inbox. And I'm like, I'm nothing special. I'm an Akko Taco. Like, what are you talking about? And I started hitting like Success Club, like 20s, 30s, like consistently. And I stayed in that phase for like not very long, like a minute, because at that time I had a team of like 10-ish, maybe 11-ish active coaches. And I had this terrible mindset of like, oh, I have 10 active coaches. I'm just going to like, stalk them and get them to diamond, and I'm going to be a 10-star diamond in like a month. Like, that was my mindset. And if you guys have that mindset, like, please stop thinking like that. Because I really thought that was my game plan. Like, I'm just going to like force them to diamond, and then like, I'm going to be a 10-star, and like, I don't have to really worry about recruiting. So I was like micromanaging the hell out of my team. Like, literally just every day, like, did you do your invites? Did you do your tracker? Like, I didn't see you post on social media. Like, literally like posting 100 times a day on my team page. Like, they probably like hated me. And I started having emeralds quit, and they were saying like, I don't want to do the work. I don't want to do this anymore. It seems too hard. It seems too overcomplicated. I don't want to do it. And I kept asking Candace, and he was like, you're just micromanaging them. Like, stop. Like, just leave them alone. Like, nobody wants a boss. Like, that's just how Candace is. She's like kind of tough love. Well, I was like, all right. And so I actually shut down my whole team page, and I said pretty much like, think or swim, participate in Team Rising Lotus, or like don't. And out of those 10 coaches, I think I have 1 active coach left. They all quit. Which is fine, because I think they were only there because I was dragging them. I was like dragging them through each step of coaching, and like, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants, to drag anchors. So I shut down my team page. I participated with Candace's team page, and, I realized none of them were on team calls. None of them were showing up. None of them were doing anything. And I was like, you know what? I'm really glad I made this decision to like focus on my own business. Because Candace asked me, how many coaches have you recruited lately? And I was like, oh my God, it's probably been like 3 or 4 months. I honestly don't even know. And that was when I realized, like, I literally stopped working on my own business to work on theirs. And like, that's not okay. And so around the same time was the cruise. And this was really when I decided, like, this is like sink or swim. I really need to like figure my shit out. The cruise was really like kind of depressing for me, honestly, because being a coach for 3.5 years, no team, not a single like coach that ever like had hit Success Club. And I'm like, I feel like such a failure, like this was like, that was like my make it or break it moment. Like, I need to get it together, or like, I'm going to sit here and like as a mediocre coach for the rest of my life. And, I pretty much cried to my team the entire time. They wanted to like sock me in the face the whole time because I wouldn't shut up about like, I have no team and I don't know what to do. And they just kept telling me to build relationships and to talk to them. And I'm like, I don't want to talk to these people that don't even want to be here. Like, I don't want to talk to these people who aren't doing anything. And like, they kept asking me, like, do you know their goals? And I'm like, no. Do you know their life? And I'm like, no. And I think a lot of that came from also because my brand changed so drastically, so fast. I went from like a military spouse trying to conceive to like single in the Midwest dog mom. And all of these coaches were like military spouses, or, you know, all of these people that I had connected with then. And I'm like, I feel like I don't even know them anymore. I don't even know my coaches. And they just kept telling me to like build relationships. And I like didn't want that answer. I wanted like give me like a tangible, like actionable item, you know, and like that to me was not it. But I tried my best. And so when I came home from that cruise, which honestly, I think the cruise really did a lot for my business, because you guys, if you're not going to events, you're literally like fucking yourself. I'll be honest. Like, people don't join Beachbody for the products. They could buy it on Amazon. They join for the community. They join for you guys. They join for, you know, for the support. And Megan, one of my new coaches, just told me when you were on the cruise, I realized it wasn't a scam, because you don't hang out with people that scam you. So if you guys aren't going to Summit, if you're not making the Success Club trip a priority, if you're not going to Super Saturdays, you're literally shooting yourself in your foot. Like, that is like what's going to drive your business forward. And leaving the cruise, I hit Success Club 54 and I onboarded 15 coaches, and I realized I needed to like completely change my onboarding process. And so this is like, I have like 4 tips for you guys that in the last like 6 months have like propelled my business. So the first one is invite to what you want. Like, I realized I hadn't recruited a coach because I hadn't talked about coaching or invited to it in like forever. And I think a lot of that was because my coaches were quitting and failing and not hitting Success Club. So I felt like, who am I to invite people to coaching if they're not even doing it, you know? And I realized that was like a terrible mindset. You're never going to find your rock stars if you just stop inviting to it, you know? Like in Keith Callahan's book, if there's 100,000 cups on the floor and you have to flip them all over for $100,000, I guarantee you're going to flip them over in 30 seconds. You know, that's what you guys should be doing, is literally talking to everyone, helping everyone, and finding your rock stars. And so I realized you invite to what you want. And I started pretty much only talking about coaching and this opportunity and what a blessing it is. Like, I literally have this lifestyle where I get to be a stay-at-home dog mom and like live my best life and do whatever the hell I want. Why am I not sharing about that? You know, why am I not sharing what a blessing this is to like not be paycheck to paycheck and to get to like dictate my income by my actions? Like, why am I not sharing that? And that's literally the whole time on the cruise. That's all I did. And even on the cruise, we made like time to do our invites every day and work our biz. And I was only inviting to coaching. And that's literally like how I got all of my coaches, was I literally started inviting to them. And then my tip number 2 is to build that relationship with your coaches. And I started doing something that I'm sure some of you guys are going to be like, absolutely not. In my welcome email, the first thing is my phone number. And I tell them, text me when you get this email. And then there's a video on like what kind of coach you want to be, and it says, text me your answer. And that's literally like, I sit there and text back and forth with my coaches all day long. They're the only notifications on my phone. And I literally just like voice message and text with them 24/7. Voice messages literally like changed my life, because I used to think like, I don't have time to get to these messages. I don't have time to text them back. You know, I used to hate when coaches would ask me questions. And that was like such a bad mindset. Like, now I'm like, if a coach comes to me with questions, I know that they're working. I don't have to micromanage them and like see if they're running their business, because they are. And I would rather have a coach who feels comfortable inviting because they know they can come to me with questions and I'm going to have an answer for them, than to like have coaches who feel like they can't invite because they don't know all of the stuff, you know? Like, Megan literally voice messages me 47 times a day. And in the past, if I had a new coach do that, I probably would be overwhelmed and be like, leave me the hell alone. But I know that it's because she's inviting people every day, and obviously she's going to have questions. So that's literally been a game changer for me, like just talking to them. And I do come off like blunt when I text, and I'm really like straight to the point. Like, if someone's like, how much is Shakeology? I'm just going to be like $130. I'm not going to like, you know, type you out a whole paragraph. And so a lot of coaches thought I was like being rude. And so using voice messages really helped me, because they realized I'm not a bitch. I'm just giving you my answer, and it's like really quick and to the point. And I'm not going to like, you know, if you want like a detailed, solid answer, like that's what the FAQ is for, right? My next tip is I started to like really think like a CEO. I just reread Atomic Habits, and if you haven't read it, like go read it right now. And in it, he talks about how one of his clients was trying to lose weight, and she constantly throughout the day asked, is this what a healthy person would do? Would a healthy person take the stairs to the elevator? Would a healthy person eat a cheeseburger or a salad? And that person lost 100 pounds. And so I really started to like implement this as like, would a top coach binge watch Netflix or like go watch a team call while they're eating dinner? Like, would a top coach commit to their program or fall off when it gets hard? Would a top coach do their invites even when they don't feel like it? And I started to really like shift into that CEO mindset and like realize that if if Kate Morgan, if Haley Christian, if Candace Rogers, if Colleen Curtis, if any of them can do it, anyone on this call can do it. You literally just have to decide to do it and then like go do the actionable items. So I stopped watching Netflix. Now I literally, every time Kate Morgan puts a team call on YouTube, I go watch it. Any of her coaches, a top coach, if they put a team call on YouTube, I'm watching it while I eat dinner or while I'm on the couch. Because like, to me, a break is not watching Netflix anymore. It's like doing something for my business. Like, watch a team call, listen to a PD book, listen to a Gabby Bernstein meditation, like not just sit there and like waste your day. Cause I used to watch like probably 8 hours a day of Netflix. Like, you know, you have to just start thinking like a CEO, think like a top coach. And then my last tip, I stole from Kate Morgan. I heard her say on a call, diamond is just emerald like a shit ton of times. And I was like, oh my God, she's so right. And I realized that like anything you want in this business is like possible through emerald. Like you want elite, cool, teach your coaches to hit emerald. You want income, cool, teach your coaches to hit emerald. You want rank, cool, teach your coaches to hit emerald. And emerald is literally so simple. Like Candace kept telling me, emerald is just a decision. Like if you're not an emerald, it's because you haven't decided to go do the work to do it. Like that's all it is. It's 2 people. If you don't know 2 people in your life that are overweight, broke, or unhappy, I'd love to know where you live because that's impossible. Emerald literally should be done in a day. And like, that's my mindset in my team page. Like I used to have the mindset where like, oh, you've been a coach for 2 years and you're not emerald. It's okay, sweetie. Like we're going to just talk to more people and figure it out. And now I'm like, if you've been a coach for more than like a month and you're not an emerald, like that's abnormal. And we need to figure out what the fuck's going on. Like, are you not inviting? Do your invites suck? Like, how are your conversations? Like, are you actually talking to people? Where's your tracker? Like, if you're not an emerald coach after like a month, like something's wrong. Like you're doing something wrong. And that really like shifted a lot because people started to hit emerald in my team page. And then like Megan hit diamond, and these coaches that have been coaches for years are like, how did she do it? And I'm like, she just did it. Like you didn't decide to do it. And that's why you haven't done it. So if you guys are not emerald on this call, I really hope that you realize that it's a decision. And when we get off this call, you go do whatever it takes and talk to a bunch of people to find 2 people who literally just need this in their life or just want to support you. I always tell my new coaches to make a list of all of their friends, family, coworkers, the mailman, like your kid's babysitter, like anyone, and you just tell them, hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm going to work out and eat right and take care of my health, and I would love for you to do it with me because I want the first couple of people I help to be the people closest to me. If your mom says no to that, I'm going to be really worried. So honestly, like it's that simple. It's literally like just helping 2 people, and it's a decision to do it. I did say the mailman. Literally, you guys, like I talked to my landlord and his wife about it. I'm like, you guys want to get healthy? Like, I see you're overweight, no offense, but like I can help you, you know? And he was like, for sure, send me the deets, like text me. And I was like, for sure. Like, you literally know 2 people in your life. I know you do. Like, if your kids go to daycare, are any of the workers there? Like, do you think they're overweight? I can tell you they're unhappy because I worked at a daycare and it's terrible. Like, I'm sure 90% of America, like Candace told me once, and this always stuck in my head. You ever feel like you don't have enough people to help, or like you feel like nobody wants your help? Go stand in Walmart for 10 minutes and tell me how many people need your help. And I realized, like, literally just looking out the street, like looking out my window at the street, like I see people walk by that are overweight, unhappy, like all the time, you know, in work uniforms, walking down the street, walking to work. And I'm like, dang, if only they could, like, you know, be a stay-at-home dog mom, like that'd be chill. And once I changed that mindset about like emerald, and I'll literally use Megan as an example because I literally just did this with her. We got her to emerald in like 2 weeks because I told her like, that's what you're supposed to do. Go do it. And she did it. And then we literally just did it a couple more times and then helped one of her friends do it and got her husband to emerald. Like if you can do emerald in a day, you should be able to do diamond in like 96 hours. Like it's totally doable. And that was like the mindset that we had was like, if you want this, emerald should be done ASAP and diamond should be done like in your first couple months. And we just did it because she's a rock star. I didn't have to like drag her to do it. I think that's literally all I had for you guys. I feel like I just talked forever.
That was awesome. You did such a great job. Proud of you.
Thanks.
I just randomly wanted to share this just because oh, and by the way, so her Instagram totally effed up like a week ago, so she didn't cry about it. She made a whole new one, even though she got up to 13,000 followers in the other one. No big deal. Just made a new one. I'd be dead on the floor. But so I wanted to show this picture. Well, you guys can just look at her Instagram. It's just fit. Candace, can you write it in the chat? So April 2016, $55 April for that month. April 2017, $575. April 2018, $748. And then this year, $3,518. Isn't that insane? For a diamond coach, about to be 1-star qualifying.
So actually, Haley, when I made that $3,500, I was an Emerald coach.
Wow. Isn't that insane, guys? So, does anybody have any questions for Britt? Everybody was obsessed with you in the chat, obviously. Wouldn't stop lying.
I just made a new Instagram. So I just wanted to ask, like, how you're following people, because I made a new one because the people I was following was, like, just watching and not, like, doing anything. So what was your strategy for finding new people for your new Instagram?
So I actually just did a training on this in my team page, and I put it on YouTube, so I can give Haley that if you guys want it. However, disclaimer, I've done that method that I gave everyone for like 3 years, and everyone did it, and everyone loved it, and it was great, and everyone was growing their following. And then my shit got hacked. And I heard Kate Morgan on a call say that she was using a third-party app, and her Instagram completely disappeared twice. So I don't recommend using a third-party app anymore. I don't know if it was that I got hacked, or it was just like a coincidence, or
what's a third-party thing? What do you?
Third-party app is like Captivate, or I use Followers, or any other app besides Instagram where you like follow or unfollow people. And I was using it to unfollow people that didn't follow me back literally for like 3 years, but apparently, I don't know. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. So now I'm just going to use the app to like see who unfollows me, and then actually like go to Instagram to unfollow them. It's going to take a lot longer. But I pretty much just use hashtags, location tags, things that are in your bio. So like if you're in my bio, it says like PCOS, Midwest, Target. So I go to hashtags about that, and literally I just follow all of them. And the people that are your tribe are going to see in your bio who you are, and they're going to follow you back. That's what's working for me. If people don't like that, that's just how I've always done it.
And then the next day, you message them for saying like thanks for the follow back or whatever?
Oh yeah. So I do have a script that I like run my whole life on scripts, because I have like really bad anxiety, and if somebody comes to me with like 14,000 questions, I'm probably gonna have a panic attack. So I lead the conversation like thoroughly with script, so I don't have to think about what I'm gonna say, unless it's like really something off the wall crazy, like I have a broken foot and an eating disorder and like I need help, and then I'm kind of like, oh, I'm script for that. But I do have a script that pretty much like introduces myself and just says like, if you ever decide that you're interested in what I do, let me know. I'm here to help. And I send that to my new followers. And then I also message people that view my stories and like my posts or comment on my posts. And I do message some of them. Like some of them I've messaged 10 times in a row, and they've ghosted me 10 times. And then on the 10th one, they like message me back and get started. And I really don't know why. But like Kate Morgan says, they're either going to block you, unfollow you and stop watching your stuff, or join you. So like, we might as well figure it out now which one's going to be, right?
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Have any other questions, guys? I started reading the Atomic Habits. I really like it.
This is my second time reading it. It's really good. I actually found it at my library. So if you guys are saying like you can't do PD, I would check your library for sure.
Oh, like what do you mean? Like your real library? You're saying like a real?
Yeah, I like went the other day and like grabbed every self-help book they had and just like I hoarded them all.
Cool. Oh my god, that's funny. So I have a question. You said you invite 100 people a day?
It's more like 50 now. Well, I'd say probably an average of 100. There's some days that I do like a lot. Like I just shared in Dreamcore the other day that I timed myself and I did 650 invites in like 45 minutes from my stories. So people that say like I don't have time to invite, I'm like, you're working harder, not smarter, obviously. Because if you have a script that says, hey, I saw you were watching my stories and I was talking about my boot camp, like you want to join, it should take you like 10 seconds to hit send.
Oh my God, yeah, did you guys know, so quick random tip, I don't even know if it's a tip if you guys don't know it, sorry, but if you know it. So when you're on your story, and I don't know about you guys, but my Instagram, whenever I go to their page, it says couldn't create thread, like always. So when they're watching your story, you can send them a message from right there, from their Instagram story, and it will never say that couldn't create thread. And plus it's way easier. You can send out 645 messages all right there without going to their profile, hitting message, copy and paste, just right there.
I will say I did have a lot of coaches that were constantly like, I'm a coach. And I just hide them from my stories now because that might seem rude, but I really don't know what else to do with them because that's how I do my invites. So I just hide them from my stories. So I don't message them again because I had some like getting mad and I'm like, well, why are you watching me every day? Like, I mean, I guess it's because I'm cool. I do have a lot of coaches that were following me and I don't know where they were finding me. Because it would be like probably 30 coaches a day were following me and I'm like, is this like a hashtag that I'm using? Or like, because none of them were from my team. I haven't gotten that since I changed my Instagram. I don't know if because I had a lot of followers, I thought I was like the shit or something and like were watching me. I don't know.
Somebody asked, how do you track?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm really pen to paper. I've tried Teamsy, I've tried Streak, I've tried it all. I do use Streak kind of, I'll go over that. But I've literally tried everything. And the only thing that works for me is like when I talk to someone, if I give them details, like I actually go over a challenge pack. I just write them in the bottom of my planner. There's like a little box and I just like write their name for like in a week, or if they gave me a date, if they didn't give me a date, then like I pick like a week or whatever, and just write their name down. So every day I have a handful of people to like message. And because I'm constantly like messaging people that are watching my stories, it's kind of how I do follow-ups. Like if you ghosted me and you're still watching my stories, guess what? You're going to get another one. And I've found that like sometimes people message me and it'll say I read it and I'm like, I never saw this. But because I like message the same people every Thursday on my transformation post, I'm like, oh, cool, I missed that last week. I got to message them back. And then I do use Streak as like a master list. Like every month I go through and I have a tab for each month, which kind of helps me keep track of how many people I'm talking to. Like if I realized last month I only input like 30 people to follow up with from May, or from what month are we in, from May, then I know like I really didn't do a very good job because like some months I have hundreds of people that I've talked to and like need to follow up with. So I just use Streak as like a master list. So like the sale's about to end, I'm gonna like go message all of them and just be like, hey, I don't want you to miss the sale.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Any other last questions, guys, before we go?
Hey, Britt, this isn't really a question, but you were talking about how like you have all these coaches watching you and like you think it's weird. Every day I go to your and Megan's Instagram and see what you guys post because it gives me inspiration to start posting myself. So
that's what one of my coaches said too. She was like, I literally used to scroll through Instagram just to like see what you posted that day. And I'm like, oh, my heart's gonna break.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Every morning I'll do my workout and then I go look at you and Megan and I'm like, okay, they're doing that. I can do something like that too.
I love
So
that.
just so you know when people are watching you.
Cool. Wow, you did an awesome job, Britt.
Thanks.
Seriously, your story was super inspiring.
Did anyone get a boom though? Because like booms make my world go round. Did anyone
I did a boomerang of like you talking a little bit, but let's just do like a real like one. Booms make my, what'd you say?
Booms make my world go round. I love boomerangs.
What do you want to do? Something awkward? Ako taco?
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. I secretly want to say Ako taco all the time now. It's my first time hearing it, really.
I say it all the time, and I always put it in my stories.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Let me know if I can help you with anything, of course. And thanks, guys, for showing up, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.